Srijit Phadke, you can ask your question.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Srijit. I just wanted to ask you, because since the Maharashtra government is telling that we did not allow Tablighi to convene in Mumbai or in Maharashtra, but central government allowed them to convene in Delhi. So it is a lapse on the part of Maharashtra, on the part of central government, and they allowed them to congregate in Delhi. So exactly, can you just shed a light on this issue as to who is the real culprit in this case?
My dear Shilji,
Yes.
I don't. Central government does not give permission. It is the SDM who gives permission for such event. If at all it is there.
Okay.
I don't know whether central government what role it has played, excepting maybe issue of visa. We don't know when the visas were issued, whether the corona had come at that time. These are all issues. But the question is, the permission is issued by the state government of Delhi, that is under the Kejriwal. So I don't know why this type of politics is being played in this issue of national emergency. Actually, I would also urge here that to stop, to put an end to this, at least for 3 months, a national emergency should be made, health emergency, and all the fundamental rights should also be suspended. This I have already come out and recommended.
Right. We have one more
The
question
state government
from... Yes.
Please.
Carry on, please. Manigaru.
It is basically the state government of AAP government which is ruling the state, which should have, if at all the permission has been given, should have given the permission. I don't know whether they gave it or not, but it's there. So, thank you very much, Srijit.
Thank you.
We have another question from Advocate Sampanna, I think. Are you there, please? You can ask your question. And then after that, T.R. Prasad ji can ask your question.
Yes, my question is...
Your name,
hello,
please?
sir. Advocate Sampanna Malavalkar.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is, if Tablighi Samaj is a terrorist organization as said in various documents, can we get a list of it, which is in the public domain, obviously, so that we as an advocate fraternity can carry out the further help in declaring the Tablighi Samaj as a terrorist organization?
You will find organization, Tabligh, directly in any terror attack, if it is involved, we have not, I don't remember, immediately recollect, but there is one way of doing it. It's a very, very voluminous work. You will have to check the questions to the parliament, this thing over a period of 2005 onwards. It is there on the website. It is very meticulous and voluminous work. So even the Home Ministry, you have to check the question and counter related. If have the patience and do it, otherwise you take my personal, I will try to locate the questions when which the answers could be found. This is a very tedious task because there are almost so many questions. Whatever is written in the parliament question is a authentic report because nobody likes the parliament. Lok Sabha question or Rajya Sabha question. Somewhere it is there. Okay, that's what I want. That it is also involved in this type of activities. That will, you can find in any of the questions of the right from 2010 or 6 or 7. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Maniji, what has been the action taken? Like now, if we say that Tablighi has been in existence since 1929, has there been any punitive action from that time to now? We are almost nearing close to a century with them around.
No, it's not that. They came on the anti-national radar only in 2003-4. Otherwise, whatever they were doing, we were not aware of it. The intelligence were not aware of it. Or even if it was aware, we were not even now the West Bengal government may be in denial of the misdeeds of the anti-national deeds of the Tablighi Jamaat. So a lot of politics has been played over it. But now 2006 onwards, 5-6 onwards, that also our own central intelligence informed us. Gopala Krishna Gandhi never informed in the governor's report to the Home Ministry. So that is the reason a lot of politics was played then also. That is what I wanted to say, that now it may be available, but still the LIA and the VSF report and the IP reports are protected under the Official Secrets Act. So Parliament question is the only recourse which could be possible. I have quoted some in my book also, page 125. There may be more available, I think. And I will also suggest the name of one officer who had gone on an inspection, and he was also get out by the Tabligis in the 2007 or anything like that. So this is how we know the entire information.
Jagdish ji has a very interesting question to ask. Jagdish ji, can you unmute yourself and ask? Have you? Yeah. Jagdish ji. Hello. Rakesh Kala, do you have any question? I can see you've written something here. Is there something that you'd like to ask?
Hello.
Yes.
I just wanted to understand, the government networks has been massively used by both this Islamic and Christian
Your name,
missionaries.
please. Your name, please.
Rakesh Gala
Sure.
has
please
been
go ahead.
both the Islamic and Christian missionaries have explored the same government virtue to penetrate all the regions in the India. How are we going to deal with it?
See, there is a full. See, earlier there was no such division, but now after 2014, one specific desk in the Home Ministry has been formed for de-radicalization. And they are taking appropriate, they are supposed to take appropriate, I think that is the purpose of it, because prior to that, radicalization or de-radicalization was never on the agenda of the government, but in 2015 or 16, this was formed. After getting seized of the issue, a particular desk has been formed. They are working out the strategy, because it cannot be done overnight. So some work has recently started in the last 2-3 years. That is what is my information. Beyond that, I have also not known. So the de-radicalization was not in the agenda earlier, but not even in the thought process, but now the thought process has started. So now maybe over a period of time, we may get some results. That's what I wanted to say.
Right. Thank you. Sheetal Upadhyay, your question? Sheetal?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Namaste. I'm Sheetal, sir, from Hyderabad.
Tell me.
Can I come in?
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Please.
you're audible. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Sheetal Upadhyay from Hyderabad, sir.
Tell me.
Yeah. So, sir, since past history, we are seeing many crimes which are linked with Tablighi Jamaat. For example, we have seen Glasgow attack where Kafil Ahmed was associated. So, and we have seen many like London 7/7 attack. So, why there was no action taken before against all this Tablighi Jamaat gatherings and all?
11th July 2005, London attack, London underground attack, yes. They were.
Yes, sir.
It's not established because ultimately, see, basically the root of it, the apex part of it is the Al-Qaeda. All these things are taking different names. Now, for example, this problem had also confronted, say, when I take the organization, the people based under the organization go and form another organization, abandon it. This has been happening for quite some time, in India at least. CIMI was banned, PFI gets formed. PFI gets banned, SD, something, this is the way. In 2019, after getting wind of the issue, the real problem, last year, the government amended the UAPA Act to designate individual terrorists also under the Act. Earlier, this was absent in even 2008 amendment also, it was not there. So now, hopefully, with this amendment having come into force, we don't expect this repeated same thing can happen, because the people behind the organization will also be now under the radar of the government, not just the organization. For example, the Dittar-ne Millat, example I always quote, the Anti Azabi was always there. She would go, once that her organization is bad, she will go and find another organization. So the entire funds will go through cryptocurrencies. It will come back. Like that it was happening. Now, Zakir Naik Islamic Research Foundation is no more in existence, but Zakir Naik is operating from Malaysia, but some other is Zakat Foundation or some other thing has come here. These are all clear. Now it is not be possible. That is what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? We have a few hands raised.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes,
Fine.
please identify yourself.
My name is Dinesh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the question I have right now is, we know that, you know, these people have been creating different organizations. You know, one organization gets closed down, shut down, raided, and then another 2, 3 come up in, you know, with the same purpose, you know, but different names. So is there a way through the, you know, if we can pass any bill in the parliament or, you know, by any ordinance, that we completely, you know, put a ban on such organizations being formed in India for good?
Let me answer that. The ban or complete ban is already there. And having said that, the government had also passed an amendment last year identifying, even designating an individual who is forming this organization as a terrorist individual. Besides that, there are cases where assets have been there have been at least 3, 4 organizations whose assets have been frozen, attached, etc. So these type of things are already in existence, but you know, the notified assets only can be touched. They have a lot of assets which are coming through Zakat, which are coming through the, you know, I will tell you one thing, the sacrificial Kurbani Bakras, the major part is taken away, but the hides and skin is a huge industry. It's a money spinner, and that is also pumped into this organization. Yogi ji banned illegal slaughterhouses. From there, a lot of money comes into this Zakat. So there are several ways, and also the money carriers who are coming like that. Besides that, the markazes, all these information and facilitation centers. This again I have written in my book, page 130. It is there in the special cell of the Delhi police. Arrested a lady called Zebnusa Habib or something like that. She was arrested in 2003 for collecting funds, 3.3 lakh rupees from Pakistan High Commission, and she came out. This fund was meant for the Markaz, and she was arrested. This has been shared in a parliament question in the Lok Sabha in 2007 or 8. Like that, there are a lot of ways which are happening, but the money, because the money is the lifeline of terrorism. If the money is not there, half of their activities won't happen, because they are able to motivate, pay. For example, what happened in Shaheen Bagh also is through money only. The huge funds are coming. The funds are coming through Pakistan High Commission also. It's a well-known fact. There is a lot of attempt, but we are trying to deal with it. Thank you.
Right. Who would like to ask the next question, please?
This is Atul Benjari. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Please.
Mani sir, what an honor to see you and hear you today. It's been really wonderful listening to you as well. Without any doubt, the service that you are giving to the nation, you have given and you are giving is really a big contribution, and I think it is going to take to the next level. My only question is that why is it that we always have an intelligence failure when it comes to such activities in India, in spite of us knowing it much in advance? Is it because of the political patronage, or is it because that we really believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and think that everybody is like what we are, everybody is like Ram, and every guest that who comes is God to us? Don't you think the mindset of us, I'm including everyone, not just the Hindus, should change when it comes to India as a motherland, and look at it as a nation rather than as a Hindu Sanatana Dharma run nation?
You answered part of your own question. See, basically, once the intelligence is available, then the intelligence has not failed. And let me assure you that intelligence has been available on almost continuous basis, the flow of stream-like basis, it keeps coming. So let us not blame the intelligence officers. If we put pressure on them, they will further get exposed and we will get into trouble. Having said that, many times intelligence inputs which are, see, the intelligence agencies do not go and stop. They can only inform you. It is not as tracking. They inform the Home Ministry. Home Ministry shares this input with the state government, say that this is law and order is your problem under 7th schedule of the Constitution. Please go and stop this. When they do it, fine. When they don't do it, we find these type of issues. I have come on record several times, including in the 26/11 attack, saying that it could have been stopped. We had the intelligence. When people were crying intelligence failure, we said no, we had the intelligence. Some politicians tried to stop. German bakery attack, there were intelligence and 2 states it was shared with. Karnataka state stopped it. Maharashtra did not stop it. One gentleman from Maharashtra also has a question. Maharashtra in the present context is the most politicalized state. Appeasement of certain sections are a very, very common now. As a consequence, it is a sitting volcano. It's a dormant volcano. Anytime it can have a very long repercussion. I'm not alarming you, but I'm simply putting forth the fact. Similarly, over a period of time, repeated compromises enables even the police to take a very, very ham-handed. See, after the intelligence is shared, it is for the Home Secretary of the concerned state to tell the DGP, although it is also shared with the DGP. It is also shared with the DGP, please take action. But here it is the other way around, they say, please don't take action. District courts attack in 2007, which happened in UP, Jaunpur, Lucknow, Varanasi. This had a Tabligh footprint in this. There were 3 times I have personally shared the intelligence. Under my signature, 1 minute of the meeting has gone. Until the then government, I think it was the chief minister was Mayawati ji, no action was taken and it was allowed to happen. I am not telling this today, I am telling it on 4th January 2008 in the Allahabad High Court, my affidavit is there. So this is all based on, I am only speaking what is on public domain. Otherwise, I have much more. So it is the political patronage of these people. That is the reason many times certain attacks which can be averted, which can be prevented, which can be preempted are happening, certain activities which can be avoided. Including, I have already said that Tabligh Jamaat, this conference could have been stopped, this could have been averted, this could have been, but certain sections of the people who were in the know of the things, officers who had tenures in the Home Ministry, who have had tenures in the, they did not share or care to alert the Chief Minister of the state. Even if they had cared, the Chief Minister did not want to take any action on them. This is, I am saying with full sense of responsibility, I have already come out with this, and who are the officers. So this is why Tabligh snowballed into such a big controversy. Am I clear? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. That gives a lot of confidence in your explaining to us. But again, the political patronage, can't there be a way in which the rule of attaching their assets or even getting them branded as terrorist organization?
That should be taken. See, in the present situation, it is the state government which has acted. But I had already said that the National Investigation Agency should be handed over all the proofs, so that by a universal order, the central government can do it. Central government can declare it. There are other benefits also that central government can achieve by handing over the probe to National Investigation Agency. We have already made a shout out only day before yesterday. Hope the government will take action on it.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
I have a question, ma'am.
Yes, please.
I'm Dinesh.
Yes.
Yes, sir. It was very good listening to you and understanding how this whole Jamaats work. So I have two questions. One question is about Ajit Doval, sir. He going to the Jamaat late night and mentioning them to stop. What happened that a person of that stature had to go there? That's my first question. And the second question is, we have always been talking about, can't the government do this, can't the government do that? But as Hindus, what should we be doing in order to make ourselves stronger, so that these Jamaats and the Muslims, they feel that yes, Hindus are also strong, and they need to be scared of it?
Simply follow the rule of law. When there is a gentleman who is coming in, when you rent out a premises, ask the police to do the verification. When you when you engage a maid, do the proper police verification. And if you found to be illegal Bangladeshi or working with you with a pseudo Hindu name, call it out, spread it. Don't be afraid. These are all very small things that can expose a lot, because this is happening all around us. Urban, see, with all his vices or whatever maybe, Chidambaram had introduced the concept of mega city policing. A very innovative idea, but when in the process of appeasement and so many other dynamics, it lost the focus. Having said that, there are very simple followings which you can do, where if it is aggregated by 20, if 20 residents say that my maid is a Bangladeshi illegal coming, then thereafter she will have no job, and they will have, the first thing will be hit, their purpose of migration will get hit. This is any illegal activity, including incursion on the road. You make a record of having written to the Municipal Commissioner of Hyderabad, wherever it is, that this road is being blocked, masjid is extending into this place, like that. These are all very, very simple matters. I am a person, you may not know that I have also had a religious place demolished. For that, I have a lot of facts. This is also recorded in my book. Having said that, about the Ajit Doval having to go there, this is the reason, because our local police was already under a lot of political pressure. I have called out already for the suspension of the 3 SHOs of Shaheen Bagh, Jafrabad and the Nizamuddin areas, the inspector in charge, the station of the circuit inspector, so that it sends a deterrence to the other people. And I have told the people are working on it. Hopefully, see the light of the day. So these type of movements. Apart from that, as a safety wall, I have made a private FIR against Jamaat-e-Islami. There are many people from Bhopal, from Delhi, one gentleman called very emeritus professor from Guwahati, Mr. Yeshanu Thakur. All of us have intentionally willfully filed a private FIR, because after all this pressure is over, when the prosecution sanction under section 45B for Jamaat-e-Islami will always go to a state government, they will delay it, like Kejriwal did in the case of Kanhaiya Kumar and Umar Khalid, and the entire punch will be lost. So that time I will use this FIR as a ruse to file a private complaint with the concerned chief judicial magistrate, and so that the people are prosecuted, whatever may be the reluctance or relenting in the pressure. That is what I wanted. If a man has broken the law, he should face the law. That was the purpose of this FIR. Now I filed it, and many people have filed it in Bhopal, Delhi, and other places also. So it is all, we are trying to spread as much as possible. If you want, we'll ask somebody to send a copy to Monika ji. She can share it with them. What is the content of the FIR? What should be written? So that many people who are willing can go and file the private FIRs. Thank you.
Thank you. Rajesh Sonalkar. Rajesh, you can ask your question, please. You'll have to be a little loud. You're not clear.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. RVS Maniji, namaste, and all other members. Actually, I have a question. Like,
what's your name, please?
My name is Rajesh Sonalekar.
Oh, sure. Okay.
From Pune.
Okay.
The question is, as the tentacles of Jamaat has spread all over the world. Yeah. Hello.
Yes. Can everybody else go on mute, please?
Yeah. As the tentacles of Jamaat has spread all over the world, if we want to take any, if India wants to take any action, there'll be repercussion from all the countries, including the Gulf countries and South Asian countries mainly. How India will deal with the situation, keeping the image, international image intact. And other thing is that I just want to know if the preamble, which has been changed with an amendment, actually the preamble is not supposed to be changed, but it was changed, and from there all these things started to get critical. Can we restore the originality of the preamble of the Constitution? That's it.
First thing first, this is preamble of the Constitution is not, it's a larger issue. It requires a larger fora to debate. So I am not touching that. Having said that, the Jamaat's issue of being designated, we are taking action as per our law. Number one, based on our judicial criminal justice system, we are taking our decision. The criminal justice system will confirm or not confirm with reasonable, adequate opportunities at several levels, right from the sessions judge to the highest level of Chief Justice of India, and maybe beyond that, including a curative petition opportunity to the people if at all they are agreed. Confirmation will happen by a judicial authority, not by any executive or a political authority. So under the UAPA Act, we are well within our rights, and the confirmation has to happen at a much higher level. So there is no issue about it. As regard what the international community is doing, we should not be bothered. Number two is, not only that, many of the communities have already banned, like Malaysia, Indonesia, and certain other areas. Tabligh stands banned. Number three is, Tabligh has also had its footprint in the London underground attack. It is also has its presence in London, plus it is also has its presence in San Francisco. All these places, they have their local intelligence agencies are well aware of their activities, their disruptive activities. So there is nothing to bother. And not only that, I have already suggested that 1267 committee, India should move a proposal in the United Nations Security Council for designation of Tabligh as a global terrorist entity and members of Tabligh as global terrorist individuals. That is also I have proposed. So if all of them take up, there the world fora will take note of it. This is adequate evidences, not only from you, but other countries will also supplement your evidence to come to a conclusion. So on that issue of international sanctions and all, you have nothing to bother about it. You take action plus as per our law. That is what is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Chandra Vecha ji, your question, please.
Can I come in?
Sorry, there's Chandra Vecha.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. My question is, the number of cases, this corona cases spike is actually after this Nizamuddin Marcus. It's very evident and everyone has to agree to that. Some of the state governments, they're not even ready to utter the word or accept the fact, and they're still playing this, I feel, the vote bank politics. And what I'm actually trying to find out is, when such governments have a soft corner, a soft approach to such organizations within their states, which means in the country, within the country, what can the central government do? I mean, this is really a serious problem. And what can be the approach by the central government? That's the thing I just wanted to hear from you.
I have also suggested or recommended or given a shout out to the honorable governments, like functionaries in the government, to impose an emergency under 356 as a health emergency can be imposed. Of course, my intent was because a lot of directions, a lot of Supreme Court was being burdened with a lot of petitions, and they were forced to give directions. My idea was to cut it, but this emergency would also solve this problem of what you're saying. By virtue of emergency, the state government's powers are temporarily annulled, the fundamental rights are suspended, and fundamental rights getting suspended means the right to constitutional remedy, Article 32 gets suspended, so nobody will approach the Supreme Court. Similarly, state functionings in the federal sector gets overruled by the center's function, and they can address this in a very, very uniform and well spatially spread and clean manner. So these are all immediately required if you really want to take control over the spread of and overcoming this problem of corona on a nationally effective basis. That I have already suggested like that. Hope the honorable ministers in the cabinet will take cognizance, take note of this shout out and come out with some area, because it is not relenting. That's what is my concern. Thank you, dear.
The next question from T.R. Prasadji.
Yeah. Good evening, Mani. I'm Prasad. My old friend. Mani is my old friend.
How are you?
Hi, fine. Thank you. Actually, we are batchmates. Okay, Mani, what I feel is that simply by legislation, you cannot deal with this problem. You may create a tough laws like UAPA, NSA, or whatever it is. That cannot be the problem. You have to cut at the very roots of this problem. Where does it originate from? I believe this originates from the madrasa education system. We should, if he had the guts, we should ban the madrasa education system, because right from, in a child of 4 years old, 5 years old, you are ingraining some system into their brain, brainwashing them, saying that, okay, all those non-believers are to be killed. This is the type of thing these children are being taught in the madrasa. So over a period of time, if that madrasa education system is stopped, organizations like this won't get enough followers. Second thing, the funding, especially the foreign funding of these organizations, in whatever way it is, it should be taught, a very strong action should be taken, and it should be totally cut. And as one of my speakers were saying earlier, it also depends on the attitude of the state governments. The state governments are supposed to...
There's a phone ringing. Can somebody... yeah.
The state governments are supposed to take care of the law and order situation in the state and act upon the intelligence inputs given by the central government. But the state governments do not take enough action, as he was saying in the case of West Bengal, for political considerations. They all play vote bank politics. So can we shift the responsibility, at least in respect of this kind of terrorist activities, from the states to the center? If the center directly handles it, that may be more effective. Thank you.
Prashad, I'll tell you one thing. Even in 2008, when this came up in the second Administrative Reforms Commission also, while we had formed a committee. I had suggested to the committee that this counter-terrorism should be in the union list, in the Schedule 7. But it was it was met with a lot of criticism by the then Honorable Minister, Mr. Shivaraj Patil, and all his people. They have to be aware. That is one part of, but that is the relevance of this. I still believe, and I have taken up it with 2-3 occasions, that they should come under Schedule 7 of under the Union list, so that central government like that, because terrorism is also equivalent to a war. So like in war, the defense of India rests with the Union of India. Similarly, counter-terrorism should all counter-Naxal, counter-militancy should also rest with it. I entirely agree with you. At least 3 occasions this has been flagged before that. But I don't know, people are not willing to listen. But political leadership should be brought to realize this, and they should be forced to do this constitutional responsibility. This is number 1. I entirely agree with you that the madrasa education has been a major peril in the entire system, and this type of radicalization. Radicalization, the need for de-radicalization was realized only in the 2015 onwards by the government, when the de-radicalization was said. Afterwards also, no radical steps were taken to de-radicalize. So as a consequence, what happened was they started a Central Madrasa Education Board or something. Board. This is Ek Haath Mein Quran, Ek Haath Mein Computer was introduced. That is still not found favor with the Madrasa education groups. They are still perpetuating the same kill all non-Muslims, kill all Kafirs, which comes right from the Quran as per Taslina Nasreen, which I quoted. Number 3 point you raised was the funding. Jihadi funding, whatever is coming from. See, I have also started the movement of equal rights for Hindus. One of the agenda points, 370, we have achieved. CAA was also one of them which emanated from there. FCRA has been partially achieved, but it has really not addressed the problem. FCRA is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. In 1718, government of the total amount of Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, I'm sharing you, received in India was around 18,000 crores, plus 18,000 plus crores. 12,000 crores went to Christian missionaries who can establish church right from the household in the remotest rural areas to any place. Another 5,500 crores went into the Islamic foundations, Islamic NGOs, which were perpetuating madrasa education, which were perpetuating all this. After the Friday namaz, there is a dua and there is a lecture where this type of radicalization activities were coming. Ahle Hadith was receiving it. So many other including, I don't know about the Tabligh Jamaat. Indeed it was. So it was around 17,500 crores. Another 500 crores were going into organization which were fighting all these frivolous litigations, PILs, etc. And balance was coming in a very minuscule portion was coming to 2-3 Hindu organizations like Amritananda Mahima, Chinmaya Mission, and certain other mutts which were involved, ISKCON, etc. in the Hindu organization. So even now, it will be better to do away with the FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Simply bring it, there shall be a prohibition on foreign contribution. This is the formal through order. But this terror funding also happens through informal sources. As I said, zakat donations, then the sale of hides and skin in the Qurbani, especially in Bakrid time. The Qurbani sale of hides and skins is also a huge funding. It's a huge industry. The entire leather industry is dependent on that. Then the illegal slaughterhouses is another area. Plus money couriers coming from abroad. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, many people come out with funds, flush with funds, and contribute to the. Plus this, this Arabi Kalyanam and this 80-year-old marrying a 16-year-old bride in Hyderabad. Kerala, there are certain pockets of grandmothers in my 30s, which is known as Arabi Kalyanam. There also huge money is laundered through. This 18-year-old girl marry an 80-year-old man from Saudi Arabia and Hyderabad, old city, and all that is also lot of money gets laundered and lot of gets into these organizations which are funding terror. So there are several factors which are informal under the carpet basis on which there is no control. Only the intelligence on which the state government has to take control. The minority marriage also the state government has to take control. If these type of things are happening, the state government has to control, which has shown marked reluctance in many states which are not held by a particular party, particular ideology linked parties. So this is a major handicap we are facing. Thank you.
We will just take about 2-3 more questions. We have Mirza Abbas ji who would like to ask you a question, Mani ji. Abbas ji, बताइएगा, पूछिएगा.
Mani ji, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am able to hear you.
Sir, sir, thank you. Sir, the question is, as of now, as you have rightly identified, that Tablighi Jamaat had been involved in a lot of terror activities world over. They have got a very huge footprint globally. I have a little bit of information about their origins, how they have started and all that. And during that period, I believe it was a Chinese Muslim association which was established in Wuhan in late 1930s, I believe. And later on, it was taken away from that place, and they are being organized from Taiwan or some place. Anyhow, you know that CMA as such is banned in China, but still their activities are there in the other cities over there, and they are creating problems. I'm taking this into the present context. Coronavirus, it has all started from Wuhan, and I have a gut feeling that there was an ijtema. We do not know exactly because we have no access to the information over there. But soon after that, there was a series of ijtemas in other several countries, including Indonesia, including Malaysia, and in even Pakistan, I believe. These things were continuing, and then from there it has come over here to India. Can't we just put these dots in a line and then present it to the international organizations in the United Nations and put it under a global ban, sir?
I have already suggested, because the UN Security Council has a 1267 committee, not just joining the dots, you require a lot of evidence. For example, the Bangladeshi Ijtema had a fight at Tatan Bazaar, whatever it is, that Tongi Batar market or whatever it gate, Tongi Batar gate, Ijtema, there are a lot of throwing and even throwing of missiles and all that. So that is one thing. Like that, the Raiwind Ijtema is also happening. There have been Ijtemas in Taiwan, in Thailand and Indonesia plus Malaysia. These are all established, Brunei, etc. But what is it that, how will the global community has to come out and volunteer evidences of what is happening in these Ijtemas? Joining the dots is okay, but these Ijtemas, decisions are not documented. They are not unifiedly documented, where to spread, how to spread and all that. That could be one challenge. But however, the Indian government has to take the lead. It is the responsibility of the other governments to come and volunteer their part of evidence, so that consolidated ban could be the outcome of the entire process of what you are suggesting is global ban on this organization. Indeed, and to what extent will China share the Wuhani Ijtema's information or whatever document they are willing to part with? This is all challenges. How whether we overcome it by reciprocity or diplomacy or or international pressure, it is the best left to the government and also the entire global community who have been victim of these Tabligh Jamaat's attacks. That is what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions, please?
Yeah,
Hello.
Yes, please. Who is this? Please identify yourself.
Yeah, can I come in?
Yes,
It's
yes.
Manasir Reddy.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I'm also from Hyderabad. It's good to hear you, sir, speaking about all these things.
Can you
I
put
am a
your,
social science
sorry,
student.
can you move your, I think you're holding the mouthpiece very close to
Microphone
you.
away?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, now it's okay.
I think so, yes.
Now it's okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, fine. Like I'm a social scientist from University of Hyderabad. So we deal with all these things daily, all this politics, petty politics. My question is there any flawed notation of secularism, etc., in the Indian Constitution? Because I have um, uh, it's always said that Indian secularism is far different from Western, as they say, the principal distance, etc. Is that the minority status getting misused in these forms? My simple is it the simple
Your voice
is
coming in
cracking
and
up.
out.
Yeah, your voice is cracking up.
Oh, how do you hear me?
We still have a problem. Your voice is cracking up completely.
Okay, now is it any better?
Please.
Yeah, please. I'll shorten my question then. So the thing is, isn't the secularism concept flawed because the minority status is being misused here for those like the thing that culture should be preserved, the minority culture should be preserved. Is it that the problem is that radicalism is also being preserved in them? We're not able to modify the radical nature of the civilizations and cultures that we have greatly accommodated in the matter of secularism.
May I reply? Although this is not the subject here, but still, as a person who started a equal rights for Hindus concept, let me share with you that you kindly go back and read the Article 25 to Article 25.2, especially to Article 30 of the Constitution. It is a stated fact that the minorities have been placed on a higher pedestal than the majority in the Indian Constitution. So the distortions come from that. That I don't mind my minorities teaching their religious or their linguistic or whatever texture to their children in their own institution held by them. So, but the same should be available to other communities also. Now, even if a minority organization forms a institution and sets up an institution, the land allotted is by the government is on an institutional rates basis. That means that it is tantamount as a central assistance, and central assistance or government assistance that proscribes the particular majority institution, any majority institution, to teach their own Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana in the course. As a consequence, the majority children are getting deprived of their this deprivation, coupled with the full reinforcement of the minority, there is a situation of inferiority, non-egalitarian of youth coming out, where one fellow is well versed there and another gentleman is not even aware of his roots. This is a systemic problem. This could be addressed. We are fighting it under the Equal Rights Hindu Charter, but that's not in the context of the Tabligh Jamaat. But since you flagged the question, I thought it is appropriate to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's have the last question. We are nearing the end of the session. It is 6:30. Can we please have one last question?
Yeah, Sudhindra here.
Yes, please.
I'd like to know Mr. Mani's views on what ideally should be the future course of action as regards the Jamaat, and also the current kind of unwritten rule that we have in the media that there should not be any reference specifically. We should rather be referring to it as a single source. So your views on this, please, sir.
Yeah, there are there's a cleavage in the media. There is the National Broadcasters Association, what is the Editors Guild of India, who has brought in this unwritten rule that single store should be used is a matter of thing. But there is another group of channels which are still saying that Tabligh lockdown, fight the Tabligh or whatever. So that is not the issue about it. Why the Editors Guild of India has done it is for Mr. Shekhar Gupta and Radhip Sardesai to answer. Having said that, future course I have already detailed that there is a need for immediate control on the short term emergency for at least 2 months or 3 months. The medium term, initiate proceedings against them, take them into custody and do the entire 180 days timeline, so that they are charged with section 16 and section 21 and other actions under section 51 etc. are 51A are taken. Long term, move the proposal, get them designated as global terror organization and global terror individual, global terror entities, so that their entire organization is, finances are crippled, their travel procedures are crippled, their arms acquisition, including the biological arms acquisition, are proscribed and sanctioned, so that they are left with nothing, no other recourse but to go for the law. These are all the 3 types of short-term, medium-term and long-term solutions which are available with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's Jyoti ji who wants to ask you a question. That's the last hand we have raised, Maniji. So Jyoti ji, quickly, please do ask.
Jyoti ji. Jyoti ji, can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Namaste, sir.
Yeah, please ask your question.
Some members of Jai Bhim Army from Telangana have attended the Marcus.
Sorry?
And some members of Jai Bhim Army.
Do you have a question, sir?
Yeah.
Please ask your question.
Some members of Jai Bhim Army from Telangana have attended Marcus
Mm-hmm.
and infected COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea of attending the Marcus by any other non-Muslim organization all over India?
Not to my knowledge. Maybe the state government which are trying to encircle and quarantine the places are having some information. Not to my knowledge that the Jai Bhim or any other organization are have been attending this. But in the previous occasions, Bhim Army Chief Chandrasekhar Azad had stood in solidarity with anti-CAA protesters, and that trend is only the basic information for a possible extrapolation or a construct. But as of now, hardcore information, real-time information is not available with anybody, excepting maybe with intelligence agencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maniji. I think one question that has stayed in my mind, and I take the liberty of being the last one to ask this question. Do you seriously believe that the Tablighi Jamaat, which would have planned this congregation way ahead of time, actually has planned to spread the virus across the country and has moved with a motive? Do you believe in the motive conspiracy theory?
It is, see, in retrospect, yes, because the way it is panning out, how the things are, how the events are panning out, how the events are unfolding, their refusal to adhere to the quarantine procedure, the diagnostic procedures also, as well as the quarantine procedures, are giveaways that it had a larger agenda right from the beginning, before the Ijtima took place or before the Ijtima was planned. That is very obvious giveaway that the Ijtima plan and scheduling was like this. They were aware of the corona manufacturing virus getting developed in the Wuhan laboratory. So all this, if you join the dots, that's the best giveaway that it was a planned, well-timed attack, because we were going towards a 5 trillion economy in 5 years, and this has really put us back for some years. So, and that is the reason I started in there. We are a sort of a motion, a dynamics. This was a pratiratham. This was a time, this was an attempt to hamper, create obstacle obstruction in our dynamics. And that is the reason I started with the Apraviratam Stotra. So this was the basic reason. That itself should have been a giveaway for you.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much. It always is so enlightening to listen to you, Maniji. God bless you, keep you safe, and thank you for fighting for our country. Thank you for standing up for morality, ethics, good governance, and equality for the Hindus around the world. May God bless you. For all the listeners who are still on the call, we keep doing these calls, and we will be doing more of these calls. Stay in touch with us, keep looking out for our announcements, and you will know when we are doing our next call. Maniji, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.